Hi, this is Kamera. We're on day number 177. And just to remind you, there are 5 books that make up the book of Psalms. The first book of Psalms is Psalms 1 through chapter 41. Psalms 2 is Psalms number 42 to 72. So we're leaving the second book and we're going into the third book, and the third book is Psalms 73 to 89. So today we're covering Psalms chapter 70 to 73. So we're leaving the second book and going to the third book. So Psalm 70 says, "Please God, come rescue me, come quickly." So 70 is basically asking God to come and rescue him. He's crying to God, and he's also encouraging himself on who God is. And he's asking God to help him with his enemies. So you guys already know we go through a lot of that in the book of Psalms. Again, I love the fact that we see that David is showing us that he was trusting God with everything he did in his life. But in the book of Psalms, we see how he dealt with a lot of the pressures of trusting God and waiting on God. I say pressure because God don't come all the time when we want him to. He don't always come immediately. There's always a process. And during that process, you go through something. And we see that David actually went through some mess. He would cry out to God, beg God to come quickly, but he would always encourage himself. And then he'll also let us know, God, I thank you for coming through for me. You took down my enemies. We see those times as well. And we see where he encouraged everyone else to continue to trust God. But we sure hear where he says, I'm so brokenhearted. I hurt. I feel like I'm drowning, Lord. That's some real stuff. Going through life, trusting God, because we trust God because we love him. We know that he is the creator of all things. We know that if we trust him, everything's going to be okay. We can go to him and ask him for peace, for joy, for love while we're going through. And we see that's what David as he's going through, he's depending on God's unfailing love to bring him through. And we see that David is victorious. God does come through. But we see that while he's going through, he's keeping it real with God, keeping the contact with God. And then Psalms chapter 71, "Oh Lord, I have come to you for protection." Again, he's asking God to save and rescue him. He said, I even trust you from birth. I've trusted you through my childhood. Isn't that something? He says, but you know what? I see also that you allowed me to go through some sufferings, but you restore me. And when you restore me into a greater place of honor and comfort. Isn't that something? He says, I will shout for joy and sing your praises. You see that? So he confirms that, God allows us to go through some sufferings, but he restores, and he restores in a greater place. So that's Psalm 71. Psalm 72, he says, oh, I love this one. Give your love of justice to the king. Isn't that something? We don't have a king over here in America, but we do have a president, and he does have the position of a king. So it is good to pray for our president and pray for the kings of the different countries as well. He says, give your love of justice to the king, O God, and righteousness to the king's son. And he says, help him. Isn't that something? Give them a mind to do the right thing with your people. Be the defender of the poor, and treat them fairly. You know what I'm saying? So hey, we need to ask God to give our presidents and our kings a mind to do the right thing, a heart to do the right thing, a heart for the poor and the defender of the oppressed. And, and Lord, help him to look on those enemies that are against him. Lord, don't let them succeed. That's basically what this prayer is talking about. It's praying for the king. Isn't that something? And ask the Lord to give him the right spirit. Yes, guys, love it. Absolutely love it. And that was 72. That was the last chapter in book number 2 of Psalms. We're going into book 3, which is chapter 73. This one right here, though. This one. what I like about this book right here, he starts off, truly God is good, but he says, I almost lost my footing. He says, I see how the riches and the wicked are, how they have good health, they are prosperous, everything they do is good, all this stuff is good. Why should I live a righteous life? Why should I live an innocent life? It's like it's for nothing, because they get the rich and the wicked, they get all the rewards. He says, but I kept this to myself, and I went to God and I sought God for understanding of this situation. He said he did not want to, talk about it to anyone else. So he took it to God in God's sanctuary. Absolutely love this. And so God gave him understanding. And he said that's when he realized that he felt bitterness in his heart. He felt bitterness. And I find that a lot of people, they're like, why should I be a Christian? Most Christians or most people believe in this God, they're this, they're that. Why should I serve God? And then you have a lot of Christian kids who are raised to know God. And they're like, let the sinner folks have all fun, and they're more prosperous. This is some real stuff. I absolutely love this. And so after he sought God, he saw that he was bitter. He was bitter about the situation. Why is it that the people who live ungodly look like they're doing good, but the ones who live ungodly look like they're not even doing good? That's some real stuff. That's a real issue that a lot of people face today, but he did the right thing. He kept it to himself, and he took it to the one who was in control of all of this stuff. And he said, then I realized I was bitter and torn inside, foolish and ignorant, because he took it to God, and God showed him the whole truth and explained the whole situation to him. You need to read that chapter. Please read that chapter. And so he says, you still belong to me, and holding my hand, you're guiding me, and Lord, you give me, lead me into a glorious destiny. He says, my health may fail, my strength may weaken, but God remains my strength. He's the strength of my heart, mine forever. And he said, those who desert God and those who abandon him will perish. As for me, how good it is to be near God. So guys, please read this. Please read. If you don't read any other chapter today, you read Psalms chapter 73, because a lot of people who believe in God, or believers, or people who are raised in the faith, and they feel like, oh, Christians are wolves. They take a lot of trash. It's a lot of flack that Christians take, believers of Christ, people who are holding on to the faith of God, what they go through. And so when you're raised as a Christian, Christian kids, I can talk about Christian kids, okay? First of all, I was a Christian kid. Second of all, I raised Christian kids. And so, yeah, this is real. And so you got to read it. So again, guys, we ended book number 2. And at the end of book number 2, I saw that it said it ended the prayers of King David. Isn't that something? And so now we're in book 3, starting from Psalms chapter 73 to 89. And we'll see that 73 Psalm of Asaph, which we know is a praise and worship leader appointed by King David. So guys, really enjoyed it. Totally enjoyed it. So please, 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 please read it. Psalm chapter 72 to 73. All right, for real though. That was day number 177. Psalms chapter 70 to chapter 73. You have a God-filled blessed day.